Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we will discuss critical appraisal and applications, interpreting epidemiological studies using real data sets. In this lecture, we will discuss how to collect data and how to check its validity and how to present its results and its applicability. And we will discuss a few examples from the real data set. The learning objectives of this lecture is number one, apply a systematic framework for critical appraising epidemiological studies, identify and assess various types of bias in the study designs. We will discuss biasness in detail, calculate and interpret key epidemiological measures, in which we will discuss how to calculate and measure RR, OR, AR, PR. We will discuss all these in the further. Evaluate statistical significance and clinical relevance. Assess the validity, reliability, generalizability of study findings. Apply critical appraisal skills to real-world datasets. The number one is the critical appraisal framework. Three core questions. Are the results valid? The data you collect for publications or to prepare any study, is it valid or not? What are the results? What is the magnitude of the effect? How precise are the estimates? Are results statistically significant? Are the results applicable? Like it's applicable on a general population or not. External validity, can results be second part is the assessing validity. Types of bias to consider. Selection bias occurs when study participants are not representative of the target population. For example, like if you if you collect the data, but your population is not to the point, like they are not truly representative of your target. For example, healthy worker effect, volunteer bias, loss to follow-up bias. What will be the impact of this biasness? Can overestimate or underestimate true associations. The next one is the information bias, like the measurement bias, occurs when exposure or outcome is measured incorrectly. The types of information bias is the recall bias and the observer bias. In the recall bias, differential memory of past exposure, and the observer bias is the systematic differences in assessment. Misclassification, incorrect categorization of exposure or outcome, can be differential or not. Confounding. A third variable associated with both exposure and outcome create a spurious association or mask a true one. Classic example: coffee drinking, smoking, and lung cancer. Control method restrictions, matching, stratification, multivariable analysis. Assessing study quality checklist. How you can assess the study is a qualitative or no. Was the research question really defined? Was the study design appropriate for the question? Was the sample size adequate? Were participants selected appropriately? Were exposure and outcome measured validly and reliably? Part number 3, interpreting result. How to interpret the result. Key epidemiological measures: risk ratio, relative risk, it means RR. Compares risk in exposed versus unexposed groups. What is the formula and to measure the relative risk? Interpretation: RR is equal to 1 ratio no association. RR is more than 1 positive association, and if it is less than 1, it is negative association. Odds ratio, used in case control studies. This is a formula and approximates relative risk when outcome is rare, like less than 10%. Attributable risk, access risk in exposed group. Formula is the AR equal to risk exposed minus risk unexposed. How much of the disease is due to exposure? Population attributable risk. Access risk in total population due to exposure. Consider both effect size and prevalence of exposure important for public health policy decisions. These are the topics and these are the ratios that we calculate how to interpreting the result. Now next is the statistical consideration. Confidence interval. Range of plausible values for the true effect. 95% confidence interval means we are 95% confident the true value lies within the range. Interpretation. Confidence interval excluding null value. Statistically significant. Wide confidence interval is the imprecise estimate need larger sample, and the narrow means precise and estimate. What is the p-values? Probability of observing results as extreme if null hypothesis is true. Conventional threshold should be p less than 0.05. Limitation doesn't measure effect size or clinical importance. Statistical versus clinical significance. Our results can be statistically significant but clinically meaningless. Large studies can detect tiny, clinically irrelevant differences. Always consider, is the effect size meaningful in practice? Part number 4, real data set. Now we will see some examples. Cohort study, smoking and lung cancer study design. This is the population. This is the specification of selection of your data. Include the 10,000 adults, their age between 40 to 70, and the followed for 10 years. Their exposure will be current smoking status at baseline. Our outcome will be incident lung cancer cases. Confounders control, age, occupational exposure, family history. This is the data set. Smokers, no smokers, and their total. Now this is the calculation, how you calculate using the formulas: incidence rate, relative risk, attributable risk percent. And at the end, you will get 83% of lung cancer in smokers is attributable to smoking. Clinical appraisal. Validity. Prospective design reduce recall bias, large sample size, key confounders control, potential for misclassification of smoking status, loss to follow-up not specified, result strong association. Statistically significant, confidence interval doesn't include 1. Clinically significant, substantial increase in risk. Applicability, result generalizable to similar age groups, consistent with broader literature, clear public health implications. Now the part number 5, real data set. Example number 2. In case control study, oral contraceptives and stroke study design. The cases are 200 women with stroke, their age between 20 to 44, and the controls women are the 400 and age matched women without stroke. Exposure is the current oral contraceptive use. This is the raw data. Control and also the cases of stroke. Calculation, you will calculate the odds ratio by using the formula and the 95% confidence interval between 1.5 to interpretation, clinical appraisal, and the same way you can calculate the validity, results, and applicability. In the validity, selection of cases were all strokes captured. For the validity, you have to select a specific population that is totally related to your study. Hospital-based selection of controls, are they representative of source population, like their age, sex, or these are matching or no, and the matching control age matched, and smoking, hypertension, these are all the potential confounders. Calculating absolute risk from OR. If baseline stroke risk in young women is 10 per 100,000 per year, risk with oral contraceptive is the 20 per 100,000 per year. Absolute risk increase, number needed to harm. This context is crucial for clinical decision making. Now the example number 3, cross-sectional study, diabetes and depression study design. Sample is the 5,000 adults from community health survey, simultaneous measurement of diabetes status and depression symptoms, standardized assessment tools used. These are the raw data of depression and non-depression with diabetes and non-diabetes. These are the calculation, prevalence, and the prevalence ratio, critical appraisal challenges, major limitation, and cannot determine which came first, diabetes and depression. Possible scenarios, sometimes diabetes happen and then depression, sometimes depression happen and then diabetes, common cause, socioeconomic factors, for example. Now these are the strengths, good for estimating prevalence, cost effective, large sample size. Weakness, what are the weakness of this kind of study? Cannot establish causality. Prevalent cases may differ from incidence cases, cannot calculate. Advanced concepts, effect modification versus confounding. Third variable distorts exposure outcome relationship. Controlled through adjustment or stratification just to get true effect estimate. Effect modification. Effect of exposure differs across levels of another variable, not a bias, it's a real phenomena. Should be reported, not adjusted away. Example, smoking and lung cancer by gender. Our relative ratio in man is 8 and in women is 4. Gender modifies a smoking cancer relationship. This is the, you can say, the confounding in the third variable. Now for the meta-analysis consideration, when appraising meta-analysis, heterogeneity, are the study results consistent? And in this, to calculate the heterogeneity, if it is less than 25% is a low heterogeneity, 25 to 50% moderate, and 50% is substantial. If high heterogeneity suggests differences in population, methods, or exposure, and that arise the reasons of biasness. Publication bias, tendency for positive results to be published, funnel plots to assess, and a file drawer problem. Quality assessment were included, studied highly had the high quality, were research method comprehensive, was risk of bias assessed. Next is the practical application framework. Step-by-step critical appraisal process. Step number 1, understand the study. Was the research question? What was the research question? What study design was used? What population was used? This is the step-by-step how to perform a meta-analysis or how to perform a work in a practical life. Like the step number 2, assess validity. That will take the 15 minutes. Selection bias concerns, information bias concerns, confounding addressed, study quality score. Step number 3 is analyze the results, calculate or verify effect measures, check confidence interval, assess p-values, consider clinical significance. You can say this is the roadmap of any study. Step number 4, evaluate applicability. Does this apply to my population? Are there implementation barriers? What are the practical implications? Number 5, make recommendations. Strengths of evidence, clinical or policy recommendation, need for further research. Common pitfalls to avoid. In interpretation of the result, confusing association with causation. Correlation is never be equal to causation. Use Bradford-Hill criteria for causality assessment. Ignoring confidence interval. P-value alone is insufficient. Confidence interval shows precision and plausible range. Overlooking clinical significance. Statistical significance never is not equal to clinical importance. Consider effect size in context. Misinterpreting odd ratios. OR is not equal to RR when outcome is common. OR overestimates RR for common outcomes. Ignoring baseline risk. Relative measures can be misleading. Always consider absolute risk. In the study design assessment, not considering temporality, overlooking laws to follow up, ignoring measurement validity, accepting self-reported data uncritically, not checking for conflicts of interest. Now the part number 10 is the practical exercise. Case study for class discussion. The study abstract. What is the study abstract? We conducted a cohort study of 8,000 healthcare workers over 3 years. Workers who received the annual flu vaccine, like the number is 5,000, had 40% fewer sick days compared to unvaccinated workers. Their number is 3,000. Their RR is 0.6, 95% confidence interval, that is 0.45 to 0.8, and the p-value is 0.001. Question for critical appraisal. What potential biases exist in this study? What confounders should be considered? Is the healthy worker effect a concern? How would you interpret the 40%? Can we conclude the vaccine caused the reduction? What additional information would you want? Are results applicable to general population? Now it's a group activity, divide into small groups, 15 minutes to critically appraise, presents findings and recommendations.